Real estate for 29 years. I did the basic seminar that you're going to hear about tonight actually in 1993 in Las Vegas. So, and that's why I wanted to bring it to Kansas City. Both my kids did it 2.5 years ago, and they enjoyed it in Denver. So it does it in different cities, but we brought it here about a year ago. We've had 4 basics in Kansas City. Everybody will get something different out of the basic, and you'll hear that tonight a little bit. Basically, what I got out of it is the biggest immediate thing I got out of it was a relationship with my wife at that time. It became a lot closer. So that's what it was for me. My business stuff, was in real estate then. It also made me do a lot better in real estate. Today, I'm more successful than I'd ever thought I'd be. So, and I don't work that hard at it. So that's kind of a win-win. I just enjoy life. It's all about being there for others, and that's why I wanted to bring this to Kansas City, is because I really do think this helps people. It helps people grow in whatever area they want to grow in. You'll hear a lot about the seminar. There's several graduates here. Thank you for trusting whoever invited you to come. Thank you for you to come. Tonight, we actually are pretty excited because tonight is the first time we actually have the facilitator to come back to graduation night. The way the basic works is there's 3 days of the seminar. It's actually, I should have had that up here. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then graduation event usually happens the Wednesday afterwards. So Cortland, which is here, he was our facilitator for the weekend. Everybody that's been there, that's been in Cortland, was he amazing facilitator? Yes. All right, good. He's been doing it for PSI seminars for 15 years. His name is Cortland Warren, and he has a son, and he's a great dad, and I think that's, what else do I got to say, Cortland?
You don't got to say anymore.
Okay. All right.
We ready? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Good evening. All right. So, unlike life, I'll give you a second chance. All right. So, good evening. Good evening. Believe it or not, after driving 3.5 hours, like I already feel like I won. I was just saying to Mike, I said, Mike, for 3.5 hours, I was driving like, man, I just really hope that somebody's there when I get there. I drove up from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm going to be driving back tonight as soon as we finish. And I know that sounds like illogical and irrational, and why in the world would you do that for an event that's going to last maybe 58 minutes? And the reality is that I do it because I said I would do it. And if you look into your life, and if for the rest of your life, if all you ever did was you simply did what you said you were going to do, that would lead to a pretty extraordinary life, yes or no? Right? And so I'm excited that you're here because you, to me, represent a group of people who did what you said you would. You made a commitment to someone that on Wednesday night, in this area, at this address, that this is where you would be. There are a number of other things you could be doing tonight. There are certainly other places you could be. I don't know if your favorite show or what have you might be on television tonight. Maybe you're recording it or not, okay? But there are other things that you could be doing. And you are here because you said you would be. And so for me, that definitely speaks volumes. There are 3 groups of people that I want to recognize tonight. And you're definitely in one of these 3 groups, or you are in the wrong room. And so if you're in the wrong room, wouldn't you rather know sooner rather than later? I don't know if you thought, well, is this what it looks like when you come to your first signing for a new home or what? Like, that's not what's happening here, okay? So you're in one of these 3 groups. The first group of people that I would like to recognize are what I call the vintage graduates of the basic seminar. Notice I didn't say old, I said vintage, all right? So these are people who took their class anywhere from September of 1973, which was our first ever basic seminar, up to November. Well, no, this class was in November. September. So up to October of 2019. Anywhere from September of 1973 to October of 2019, you are a vintage graduate, all right? So if we have any vintage graduates in the room, let's please have you stand. And let's give the vintage graduates a round of applause. Thank you for being here tonight. Excellent, excellent. Now, to our guests, one of the things that you'll note is we applaud a lot. And so our graduates really like the applause. So if you want the evening to go faster, you keep your applause shorter because they will keep standing as long as you are applauding, just so you're aware. The next group of people I want to recognize are the most recent graduates of the Basic. We were together about a week and a half ago. We started out as strangers. We got some incredible work done, and I'm back tonight because I made a promise to them that I would be back tonight. Some of them were from out of town and so forth. And some of them are local, and they didn't keep their word, if I'm just going to be really blunt, okay? And so this group I have a special appreciation for because, as I was saying, they're a group of people who did what they said they would. And so if I'm going to have you come up front a little bit later, but for now, you're in one of the three groups that I was talking about. So if the most recent graduates would please stand and let's give them a round of applause. Wow, you got such a fast. Y'all sit down quick. All right. Now, the next group of people, I really have a lot of respect for. Not that I didn't respect or don't respect the first two groups, but this group, the guests, I have so much respect for. Like, I get that you're very likely sitting here like, what is this? Why is this guy so overdressed? I wonder if he shines his head. I wonder if perhaps you're here tonight because maybe someone's been like a chihuahua in your ear for the last week and a half. Like, oh my goodness, you gotta come, you gotta hear what's the WW. I want you to take this class. You're like, whoa, 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 whoa. What is it about? And then they say strange things like, I can't tell you, which is weird. Right? You may be here tonight because you're determined that you're going to save them from the cult that you know they join. You use words, I know, all right. But no, you're here tonight because someone sees a lot in you, and it means a lot to them that you also kept your word to be here. It is not that we say you can't talk about the class, don't talk about the class. That is kind of strange. It though can be difficult to explain, and I'll do a little bit of that here tonight. Okay, but you may not hear them say these words, but the person who invited you to be here, they are excited that you trusted them enough to come, right? And if you are concerned, worried, anxious, nervous about whether or not someone tonight is going to ask you if you would like to attend the class, relax, chill. Okay. Of course they are, right? But that's not until like an hour from now, okay? But for now, it's enough to know that the person who invited you to be here sees more potentially in your relationship, your friendship, your business partnership, and if you're open to it, there may definitely be some things that you hear. Hopefully the person that invited you to be here tonight didn't tell you that you need this class. Anybody here? They didn't say that, right? Like I thought about you the entire weekend I was there, and you need this, right? That's not the case, all right? And so thank you for being here to our guests tonight. And I would like for our guests to stand so that we can acknowledge you. And just in case you think about not standing, just know that we know who you are, right? So if our guests will please stand, and let's give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. I saw that. She was like, bam. All right, so I learned about this today, this board here, and usually I go old school with easels, but tonight I'm going to I'm going to grow and expand like myself. All right. So what I want you to do is, are you up for a little bit of audience participation? Yes, no? Yes. Up and down would be yes, side to side would be no. Maybe it's because I'm from Oklahoma, but I'm the kind of person that when I ask a question, I will actually wait to get a response. All right, so can I get a little audience participation? Yeah. That worked. And see, then watch me just keep on moving as soon as that happens. All right, so what I want you to be thinking about is your life and what would need to happen in your life in order for you to, when you got to the end of your life, to be able to look back on it and say, I won, or I did good, or I lived great. Okay? So it's not a morbid thought. Imagine that it's 100 years from now, so everybody gets another 100 years. Okay? What would need to be in place in order for you to, when you got to the end of your life, for you to be able to say that you won, that you did a great job? Okay? That's what I'm going to call successful living. And I believe that everyone in this room tonight is a person who is at least moderately interested in being more successful. So you're already successful to a degree because people who aren't don't show up to events like this. See, only successful people are thinking about, well, how can I become more successful? They understand the importance of self-education. They understand the importance of self-understanding. And if you ask them, there's also a big part of them who recognizes the importance of remaining open to new ideas. So would you agree right now that our world is going through a lot of change, yes or no? Yes. Right? And even if you're a person who doesn't like change, even if you're a person who likes, predictable, comfortable, regimented, systematic, this way, my way, or the highway, whatever, right? Even if you're that type of person, is that stopping? I know. I was winning for 3 days. I get it, right? So even if you're that type of person, is it stopping the change from happening? Yes or no? No. It's not. So even if you're a person who doesn't like change, it's not stopping the changes from occurring. So in times of change, Eric Hoffer, a philosopher, is quoted as saying that in times of change, the learners will inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. In times of change, the learners will inherit the earth. Those who are open to new possibilities. They don't just talk about or mention working on themselves or doing something different. The learners will inherit the earth. They get positioned for leadership in the changes that are coming, while the learned, or the learned, right, find themselves beautifully equipped. What do I mean by the learned? Do you ever know people who they just know everything already? People like, it's probably not anybody in this room, but people who are like this. Like, they just know everything. You cannot get a word in edgewise. Right? They know everything about everything, even though the results in their life don't show that. Right? So the learned find themselves beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. And so what I want you to be considering then is what for you would lead to or make for a successful life. All right? So I'm gonna need some help on this. Someone who's because if I write, like I said, this is the first time I've used this board. I want to write some things down, but I want to be able to come back to them. Can I do that? Yes. If I erase it?
I know how to do that.
Okay, it's going to be a lot faster this way, okay, if one of you two write for me. Okay, so, I want you to bring to mind the most successful person you know, all right? It could be you, right? Someone you've heard of, someone you read about. You could have met them or not met them, all right? But when you think about successful people, the most successful person that you can imagine, all right? I'm not going to give you any names because I'm not here to tell you what success is. But when you think about success, the way you would describe it, what are the qualities and characteristics that make up a successful person, all right? So if you say them, we're going to get them written down. Think of a successful person. What's one of the qualities, attributes, characteristics? They are what?
Happy.
They are happy, okay? And they are
Driven.
driven. Keep going.
Educated.
They're educated.
Committed.
They're committed. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Committed. What else?
Focused.
They're outside the box thinkers. There we go. Okay, outside the box thinkers.
Focused.
They're focused. All right. This is the audience participation part. You know, it could be you that you're describing. That's perfectly fine. What else?
Honest.
They're willing. Okay. They're honest. Thank you.
Goal oriented.
What was it?
Consistent.
Consistent. And goal oriented. How are we doing over here, Stacey? We going too fast?
No.
You good to go? All right.
They
Okay.
have written goals.
They have their goals written down. All right. So they have written goals. Okay. What else? Highly successful people are driven. Did we get that one? Okay, driven.
Accept failure.
They can accept failure. Thank you. Okay, it's a big one. All right.
Open to learning more.
There was it.
Open to learning
They're open to learning more. Perfect. Okay. You got one? You have one. Don't you? You're best to say it. Oh, come on. No. All right. What did you whisper to him? What did you tell him? She said driven. Oh, driven again. Okay, driven cubed. You got that one 3 times. What else?
Solution oriented.
They're solutions oriented.
Balance.
And they are
Balance.
balanced. Thank you. Balanced. Yeah, okay. Balanced.
They have integrity.
They have integrity. Excellent.
Ethics.
They're confident. They have ethics. Right? When you think about the success that you've created in your lifetime, right, where you made it happen, where you achieved. I know that I'm not talking to a group of people that have never accomplished anything. Right? That's not the case for this room. So even as you look into your life, and those times when you made it happen, okay, what do you recall about you during that time? And what did you call forth from within yourself in order to create the success that you've created?
Self-motivated.
You're self-motivated, right? For those people out there who might say it was luck that you did what you did. For those people out there who want what you have, but they aren't willing to pay the price that you've been willing to pay. And they think that you got it handed to you. They think that you just, got lucky, right? What do you say to them? What was it that you called for? Yes.
Seneca said, luck is where preparation meets opportunity.
Yes, okay, all right. So they were prepared with so preparation, big time, okay?
Willing to put the work in.
Right, and willingness to work, okay?
Persistent.
And persistence. Excellent. All right, so now, what I want you to do is I want you to bring to mind and thank you, we're going to come back to that list in a second, all right? I want you to bring to mind a small child, all right? So, say ages, small, 2, 3 years old, okay? Anyone have children around that age? 2, 3 year old children? Okay. 2 people, all right? So for the rest of you, do you know people who have small children? Okay, we got 8 more, okay? 8 more plus 2, that's 10. All right, so for the rest of you, were you ever a small child? Okay, now how many of you have decided that you're not going to raise your hand no matter what question I ask you? Okay, that should get everybody else. All right, so when you think about the qualities of a small child, what are some of the qualities?
There you go.
I learned fast. All right. So, what are some of the qualities and characteristics that come to mind for you when you think about small children? They are what?
Busy.
They're fearless, man. Right? If there's not some element of fear, then sometimes they get bored with it. Like if you were to go into a room and you tell them you can play all around this room, but whatever you do, do not go into that closet. As soon as you leave, where's the child going to go? They want to know what is it there that mom or dad was so afraid of, all right? So they're fearless. What else? Children are? They're persistent. They're resilient. What else?
Curious.
They're curious. And what was it?
Honest.
They're honest. Notice how no one has to teach a small child how to be honest. As adults, we teach them how to what? Lie. And sometimes the lie might start out with something as simple as, don't tell your mom about this. And you're like, okay. Or your phone rings and you have a special ringtone for that person, that person. And you're like, it rings and you're like, oh, not right now. Not right. But you haven't communicated that to the child. And so the child hear his phone ring and they just love it. They can just swipe it now. Like, hello. And you're like, and the kid is like, my daddy says, my daddy? He said he's not here. He said he's not here. Right? No one teaches the child how to be honest. No one teaches the child how to be persistent. No one teaches the child resilience or even how to trust. No one teaches a child unconditional love, right? Those qualities and characteristics, they're inherent in small children. Now, are those qualities and characteristics, are they inherent in some small children or in all small children? All small children, all right? And considering then that everyone in this room, at some point in your life, you were a small child, then it would include everyone here. Those qualities and characteristics are inherent in you. And in the basic seminar, what's happening is that you're being reminded of those qualities and characteristics that are inherent in you such that you use them to create the success or the meaning that you desire. See, you are trusting. You are honest. You are persistent. You are determined. You are confident. You are courageous. You are fearless. You actually came into the world that way. Those qualities and characteristics we call your values. Now, what happens to the small child? Hello? What happens to the small child?
They grow.
Yeah, they grow up, right? It's like, what happened to you? You grew up. You had a few birthdays. Right? Life happens, or life experiences happen. And from our life experiences, we develop, look at me use that thing, right? From our life experiences, life happens, and we develop programs or ways that we think about ourselves, about other people, about life, or about the world. Now, these programs become essentially your operating system. And it is through these predominant ways of thinking are what are controlling your life. You may not like having a guy that you just met tell you that you are not running your life, but here I am, a guy that you've never met, telling you that you are not running your life. Your programs and predominant ways of thinking are. And it's the reason why you can a lot of times know what to do and not be doing it. Where in your life you can know the steps to be taking and not be taking them. Where you can be in a business where you have incredible opportunity and not be taking the action that you know to take. So sometimes we can know what to do and still not do it. The basic seminar is the best vehicle I know of closing that gap. How many of you have ever made a mistake before in your life? A few of you. Okay, all right, hands down, all right. How many of you have made a mistake before, promised yourself that you were never going to make that mistake again, and you made the same mistake again? All right? So then you would agree that sometimes there can be a gap between knowing and doing, yes or no? Right? We don't always do what we know to do. What we heard is a key to the success of any relationship is what? One of the keys is what? Communication. Anyone ever had your communication look like this? What's wrong? Nothing. Want to talk about it? No. Now you can, in that moment, you know that's not effective communication, and yet you're doing it anyway. Or take yourself back to when you first learned to drive a car. You didn't want to something. Or ride a bike. Okay, I mean like way back when you first learned to drive. I'm just pausing right now because some of us have to go back further than others. I'm talking about when you first learned to drive a car, right? You remember how, like, man, both ears are like knuckles gripped tight around the steering. I'm experiencing this now. I have a son who's 16 who's just going through the process of learning to drive. And I'm telling you, for around Thanksgiving, we were driving down to my mom's in southeast Oklahoma. And he's like knuckles tight. I'm like, son, you gotta breathe. And he's like, I mean, it's just like turnpike straight away. I'm like, breathe. I said, now you got to know what's going on. Like, on the right, left, rear view mirror, got to take a look. But I remember those days. All right, so when I say when you first learned to drive, now fast forward to today, and have you had the experience of, like, you pull into your driveway, and it's like, how did I get here? Question, who was driving? This is the part that's driving. In that analogy, because you've driven a car so many times, you don't have to be consciously aware of what it takes to drive a car. Okay? But you also show up in relationships in a way that is so automatic that even though you know a more effective way of being in relationship, you won't do what you know to do. You could know a more effective way of communicating. You might know that being open and honest and transparent is a way of growing and having a flourishing relationship. You might know that, man, I really should spend more time, quality time, with my partner. I really should spend more time, quality time, with my children. How many of you have ever had the experience of you were there physically, but you weren't present, even with your kids, right? The basic seminar actually will support you in understanding what is the way of thinking that would keep you from doing what you know to do, even in something as simple as that. See, we have surface relationships with people. But in the basic seminar, you uncover that you also have surface relationships with yourself. That you don't even know you, not at a very deep level. And as you begin to explore that and uncover that, where some people might start to believe or think that it's going to be scary and ugly what you see, I say absolutely not. I wouldn't be traveling the country teaching this class if what was going to be revealed was something ugly and unattractive. People fall in love with themselves as a result of this work. People fall in love with themselves again as a result of this work. And it goes from, I'm just going to busy myself by building a business, or I'm going to busy myself and occupy my time by doing this community service or volunteering here, and say, no, I am no longer afraid to face up to or true up to the person that looks me back when I see him in the mirror. And it goes from, I would never want to do that, and that's a scary idea, to you actually falling in love with yourself again. So from our programs and the ways that we think then, that will then affect your attitude or the way that you feel. Anyone ever been told you need to change your attitude? My mom used to say, boy, you need a checkup from the neck up. So your attitude of the way that you feel will always be in direct alignment with what you're thinking about. And then from our attitude and the way that you feel, it will then affect your behavior or the way that you act. Now, your behavior and how you act is not who you are, but rather how you show up in the world. Okay? And why does this matter? Well, because we have predominant behavioral styles. And our predominant behavioral style can influence the results that we create. Okay? Now, we all have access to all of the behavioral styles. And there's an actual concept that we explore through in the course where we spend a full. I would love to right now, graduates. Wouldn't this be fun if we could just like split the room up into 4 quadrants and just kind of see where everyone, those predominant behaviorals, and see what we come up with. It's one of the more enlightening points in the 3 days. However, you have a predominant behavioral style, and there's a behavioral style that is what I call a more controlling behavioral style. And these people show up in the world as very like, my way or the highway. There are no other alternatives that exist. We'll do it this way or we won't do it. There's probably not anybody in here, but you may know people that are like this. Like the idea of giving up control or the idea of letting someone else decide, is, not so much, right? They oftentimes complain about being the leader, but they don't give up leadership to anybody else. They really work from the adage of, well, if you want it done right, then you just do it
Yourself.
Yeah, let's see this. I usually ask that question. We gotta see who we have in the room, right? So, or it's like, well, if I gotta take all this time to teach you how to do it, then I may as well just do it myself. Now, there's another behavioral style that is like completely opposite of that. They could care less about being in control. They're like, if you like it, I love it. If it works for you, it's wonderful for me. When you ask them, what would you like for dinner? They're like, whatever you want to eat. Would you like to go to a movie? Sure, let's go. What do you want to see? Whatever you want to see. And then for the person who is opposite them, who's like frustrated and tired of making decisions, it becomes like quite the rub for them. They're like, will you just decide? And they're like, honey, I decided. It's whatever you want to do. Like, I am just so, I always have to, no. Will you just make a decision? Honey, you don't really want me to make a decision. No, yes, I do. I am tired of deciding. Oh, no, you really don't. Yes. Okay. So, what would you like for dinner? And they say, Chipotle. What? Chipotle? Of all, they see, this is the reason why I say we just right. But for their behavioral style, that's not what they care about, is being in charge. Now, there are those who work from a behavioral style where, they think a lot, okay? And it's like for them, movement and action is a result of like, it's tough, it's laborious, because they're thinking about, they don't want to make the wrong decision. And so they deliberate on it for quite a long time. For them, it's like, wow, I don't know. A is greater than B, and B is greater than C, so A is greater than C. And smoke and stuff coming out of their ears. They experience paralysis from analysis. They're thinking about it so hard, and you're just like, just make a decision. You never take them to a restaurant that has menus with several pages. Because they're going to read every page, every item. They want to know how it was prepared, and from where were these ingredients, delivered, and were they farm raised, and how fresh are they, and how long were they in transport. And every time the waiter or waitress comes around, they've got another question, but they're never quite ready to order, and you're just like, you always get the chicken. Yes, honey, but I just like to read and know. I just want to have the information, right? Now, they are completely opposite from the behavioral style that's like, they spend very little time thinking about it. They're like, let's just go. We'll figure it out on the way. Now, these are the people who are like, man, they order food, like speaking of menus, they order their food kind of like by looking at the pictures. They're definitely not going to read it. They just going to, what looks good? What's going to bring them the most attention? These are the people who are just like, they've got their hands in a lot of different things, and you would recognize them as the, I call them the woo busies. Okay, you don't seem to know what I'm talking about. Woo busy people are people like when you see them, it's like, how are you? Woo, busy. It's like, I haven't seen you in a while. What's new? Woo, busy. Well, what's up? Woo, busy. And then you ask them, well, what's getting done? Woo, nothing. But they got a lot of different stuff going on. All right, so all of those behavioral styles are effective at different times, okay? And from our behavior and the way that we act, we generate or create our results. Imagine that's an S. Results, okay? So now, really quickly by looking at this, if the results that you have in your life, in the area of relationship, or in the area of business, or with your health, or with your finances, your spiritual practice, if the results are not what you want, then based on this model, what would you have to shift? What would you have to change in order to have different results?
Programs.
Yeah. The thinking part, right? See, because the thinking drives everything else. It's not that you don't have what it takes. It's not that you're not capable. It's not that you're not deserving. It's not that you're not worthy. But what happens is, over time, our life, if you look at this like an onion, And there are layers to this onion. What happens is that over time, the core of who you are, the truth of you, starts to get covered up. And you might have a life experience, and from that life experience, you make a decision about you that can then alter how you see the world going forward. For me, it was at 4 years old when my dad left home. I was the kid that just wanted to be like my dad. That was it. Like, to me, the world it started there and it stopped there. I just wanted to do everything that my dad did. I was the kid that would throw the most incredible fit because my dad would leave for work and I didn't get to go with him. And so the morning that he left home, I remember it as though it happened just a few days ago. And I saw him, leaving the house, and I chased him down, what I would normally do, and I was like, Dad, I want to go. And he looks up at me and says, I'll be back to get you. And so I run back to my room, I start getting dressed, and I'm putting my clothes on. My mom walks in and says, where are you going? And I said, oh, Daddy said he's coming back to pick me up. And just by the way she looked at me, she didn't say anything. Just by the way she looked at me and turned and walked out, I knew at that moment, at 4 years old, that my life was about to be different. That things were about to change. I didn't know how, but I knew that things were going to be different from that day forward. 20 years later, I was in the basic seminar in June of 2001. It was Saturday afternoon. We had just explored a concept, and it was in that moment that it finally dawned on me that my dad was not coming back to pick me up. Now, I understood it intellectually, okay? By that time, I'm 24 years old. I got it intellectually, but like at a real, deep level, it was like, wait a second. My entire life, from that point until that Saturday afternoon, that Saturday in June 2001 in Las Vegas, my life from that point up till then had become all about how can I be good enough for my dad to come and pick me up. Am I communicating that? All the decisions that I made, where I excelled in school, it wasn't because I was just brilliant. Every time I would get to talk to him, he would always ask me, how were my grades? I wanted to have a good report. In athletics, much the same way. I just wanted to be able to tell him I scored a touchdown, or I won in the track meet, or we had won the state championships. It wasn't about my love for athletics. It was about, okay, now I didn't realize it, but, up to that point, I'm persistent and fearless and honest and trusting and loving life. But then something happened. What happened? My dad left. And when he left, what I started to think, or what I started to believe was, I'm not good enough. He doesn't want me. And if my dad doesn't want me, whoever would. That led to a feeling or an attitude about me and about other people and about life that really had me reserved and introverted and distant and disconnected and really unclear about anything that I wanted for me. Which then led to a behavior or an actions that were just all about how can I gain the approval of other people. If we were to go around the room tonight, I think we would uncover a lot of that. How do I get the approval of other people? And so if in your life you've ever said yes when you really wanted to say no, or you said no when you wanted to say yes, that would be a very basic example. Okay? And so what happens then is, so now there I am on that Saturday in the basic seminar, and I'm like, I have no idea what I truly want for me. Because at that point, everything was about being impressive enough to get his approval. But I didn't know what I wanted for me. And so now, it was scary for a moment, but luckily, the class isn't done there. So then it becomes, all right, well, what result do you want? And if you want to change the result, then what has to change is the way of thinking. And we go through ways of doing exactly that. if there's any area of your life where there's an outcome or a result that you want, and you're not getting it, be that a healthy relationship or more healthy physical body, or you want to sell more homes, or you want to achieve the levels of success that other people in the office or region or whatever are doing, I promise you that it is not that they have something that you don't have. Because we come into the world this way. I'm not saying that we all have the same physical traits, qualities, and characteristics. But as it relates to your ability to create a life of fulfillment and a life of meaning, if that is the outcome that you want, the only thing that could be in the way of you achieving that result for yourself would be a way of thinking that is not consistent with it. And so, when we look at, okay, these ways of thinking, right, it's not a snowman, right? It is your mind. Okay? You have a conscious, subconscious, and superconscious level of mind. What highly successful people do that's different, here's the secret. You get to hear it because you showed up here tonight. What highly successful people do that's different than what other people do is they have these three levels of mind are in alignment. They're conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. So the conscious level of mind is the place where we decide. Okay? And the subconscious level of mind is the place, its job is to make you right about what you decided. Superconscious level of mind is inspiration or ideas. So what happens is, when what you say you want and when what you believe you can have, they get aligned, then the how to or the way to do it flows through. But a lot of times what's happening is, catch this, all right, I know I've been going here for about 30, 40 minutes now, okay? What happens is, a lot of times, you say you want it, but you don't really believe that you can have it. So a person might say that they want a loving, trusting, committed relationship. But what they believe is, you can't trust men. Whatever you do, never trust a woman. Don't give anybody all of your heart, because people will disappoint you. They'll let you down. So what's happening is, I say I want it, but I don't really believe that I can have it. I want to earn 6 figures a month or 6 figures in the year. That's what I really want to do. That's what I'm going to do. But I don't know the right people. I don't have the right network. I don't have the right connections. And so now, what you say you want and what you believe you can have, they don't align. And so as long as that's the case, then the idea, the inspiration, the way to do it doesn't flow through. So the work becomes making sure, if you do nothing else, whether you choose the vehicle of the basic seminar or not, if you do nothing else when it comes to self-understanding, self-development, make sure that the work that you are doing is the work of your beliefs aligning with what you say you want. Because everything else is a scam. Everything else is a ripoff. If what you're doing is not making sure that your beliefs align with what you say you want, you're never going to get it. It's not the most inspirational thing to say, and it's the truth. Because if your beliefs don't align, it's not happening for you. And all around you, you will see people who are not as talented as you getting greater results than you. You ever had this guy or man or woman who always seems to attract relationships, but like, you're single. But this person always attracts me. You're like, what's wrong with me? Like, you know them personally, and they're a jerk. And you know that they're a jerk. You know that they're different, but they always seem to be. It's because their thinking at this level is consistent with what they say they want in a relationship. Or maybe you know people, they just always seem to be at the right place at the right time, or in the right place at the right time. It's like the business just falls in their lap. You may have agents like that, Sherry. It's just like, man, it's just like, and they are unable to explain what's happening. Right? You're the team lead, right? So you know the agents of the 350. Yeah, I'm sure you know. Some is just like, man, they like they're just batting away business. It's like, and you have some who are out there working their butts off, at least they think. They are grinding and they are put the signs up and I'm here and nothing seems to happen for them. And unless they get committed to doing work like this, they'll be out of the business before very long. Because it's frustrating. It's frustrating as hell to see somebody where it looks like it's automatic. And here I am doing all of this and it's not happening for me. Because the work is right here. Your thinking has to be in alignment with what you're saying you want. And that's where the ideas and the way to do it, the how-to, starts to flow through. So, the sweet broom.
Sherry,
So that's what happened.
you know how to go to different pages?
I don't need them now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what happened over the weekend in November where we together, is there was a group who determined that, all right, let's go to work. Right? And they were committed to, and that's the work that they did. It was the work of ensuring to a greater degree that their thinking would align with what they said they wanted. Okay, and so tonight marks their graduation night or the end of the class. Typically, this event would be the week following the course, the immediate next Wednesday, and we were obviously aware of the Thanksgiving holiday maybe affecting that for a number of people. Okay, and so that's why we moved it to this week. Okay, and so when I said earlier, I would recognize them. I won't just have them come up front. And when you do, bring your envelopes with you, okay? And so the most recent graduates of the basic seminar here in Kansas City, those of you who are in the room, I want you to come on up front. And whether you know them personally or not, I want you to lose your minds like Kansas City Chiefs just won the Super Bowl. All right? So here's the deal. You know that the five of you became my favorites. Right. You're really clear about that. All right. So we finished with close to 30, and a number of them, but they came from everywhere. So there is the out of town exception. But that said, you are now like a special group to me. And I promised you that I would be here, and my hope is that means something to you, not because it's corporate, but more because of what is PSI Seminars, okay? And one of the anchors of all the work that we do is personal integrity. So if you're going to live a life of significance, if you're going to have a life of meaning, it will be because you were a person who did what you said you were going to do. If anyone is going to remember you for the time that you were on the planet, it will be because at some level you were a person that could be counted on to do what you said you would. And so that's what your being here tonight represents to me. And it also represents finishing what you started. So I want you to think back to Friday, day one of the class, right? So how many of you, when you came into the class on Friday, you had some, let's call it resistance? Yeah. That's about what they did. For the whole day, they just kind of... Did you still have some resistance on Saturday night? You remember Saturday night? Not really so. Yeah, okay. And then, but by the time you finished, right, now being on this side of it, are you grateful or are you thankful to the person who invited you to attend? Okay. How would you, if you were going to describe the basic seminar in a word, what would your word be? How would you describe what you experienced? I know it's tough, but change, right on, right? You had some big shifts, Mateo. You really did. Anyone else change? What else? Enlightening, right on, right on.
Much needed.
You did what?
Much needed.
Much needed, right on, right on. So you got, okay, anyone else? James, Jill? What would be your word, Jill?
I don't know how to say it.
What? Jill doesn't know what to say? After our weekend now, whoa, I'm embarrassed. All weekend, Jill had plenty to say. And so you're saying now?
I said I don't know how to.
Okay. What would you come up with? I gave you some time to think about it.
Looking at yourself, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know what that word is.
Yeah,
There's a
it-
word, but I don't know what it is.
Introspection.
What is it?
Introspection.
Introspection. That's
Right on. All right, Jane, what would your word be?
That's America.
What do you mean by that?
I thought it was life-changing.
Oh, life-changing.
I couldn't put it in one word. I mean, it's we love you and hate you. I mean,
This is what happens when you give them the mic. I totally get that. You know, it is, and what is true is that, you know, support isn't always the person that just tells you only what you want to hear. Sometimes support is the person who cares enough to tell you what you didn't want to hear, but it was going to serve you most. Okay? And so in your envelopes, you're going to find your diploma or your certificate of completion for class. And I'm not being facetious here, okay? Final assignment, so to speak, is to make sure that your diploma finds a frame. And I want you to put it up someplace where you can see it and refer back to it often. Use it as a positive trigger device for you. We have trigger devices all around us. Things that remind us of things. Sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative. What we're not always aware of is every time we see it, and we are then led to think about whatever the event or experience was, be it positive or negative, as long as there's emotional connection to it, then it's as though we are recreating it again. And so, I put this up someplace where what is continually being created is a reminder of the value that you created during the time of the class. The people that you met, the experiences that you had, the value that was created. Okay? As a graduate of the basic seminar, your diploma will speak to our pertinent rights and privileges, and what that is specifically referred to is that as a graduate of the basic, you can now attend the basic seminar wherever the class is being held, whenever it's being held, and wherever it's being held. Okay, so your tuition for the basic seminar is a lifetime membership, essentially. And so you pay a tuition one time, and then for the rest of your life, you can take advantage of it. And that's not just in the city where you took your class. So if you find yourself in, Waikiki, and I say that because it has happened before. I was facilitating the class in Honolulu down in Waikiki, and a person was there on vacation, and they saw the signage for the basic seminar going on. And so they took a couple of hours that day to just come in while they're on vacation there for a week. And so it's not, so that's a privilege that you have. Use it. Okay. I promise you, when you come back, there will be things that you'll hear differently. Mainly because you're not the same person that you were when you took it. Okay? But you will hear things differently, and there may be a part of you that was like, wow, if Cortland had said that in my class, I would have gotten it. And the truth is, I did say it. However, you're a different person at this particular point, right? You're also asked to take an action step towards your 30-day goal. I asked James already how it was going. And so how about the four of you? Did you take your action step, and have you been working on it? Yes, no?
Yes.
Right? All right, so give them a round of applause for that. Because I get excited when you took your action step, because that's evidence that something happened. That something occurred. See, there's not a book that you can read, there's not an audio that you can listen to, there's not a course that you can attend that will replace you taking action. Now, finish the deal. Okay, finish and then report. report it back. I love, that's where I get my like juice and fuel from, is knowing that people are, doing or taking different actions. Okay, so I'm going to close out here in just a moment, but we're going to do another exercise. Come on now. What would an evening be if we didn't at least do one exercise together, right? So, but before you return to your seat, is there anything that you would like to share about either the value that you created or anything like this is your last hurrah? I didn't think.
I'll make it
don't think
real
used to
quick.
be. It's just
I'll make it real quick.
Yeah.
Kevin's, says you're good, but you're long-winded, so I'll try to make it short-winded. This, to my best, I was in the seminary before I met my wife. I have done a lot of personal enrichment, things with a lot of places. There is nothing more amazing. God gift. It was a gift from God, and I've been praying for you. I've been praying for you. Been praying for all the leaders, because it is. If you allow it to work for you, you will become kerosene. I mean, you really will. And it's harder. It's amazing. You look at the people that have whatever success is to them, and the way that they get there is through the blood, sweat, and tears. And sometimes having somebody remind you of that is, you hate it, but you love it. And so that's all I have to say.
Right on. Thank you. Anyone else?
Sorry if I went long, Kevin.
It's all good. It's all good. Right. So, if not, then again, as I said to you, that on Sunday, this part of the evening isn't very long, right? And now you can say, wow, he drove 3.5 hours just to say congratulations. But we said we would. It really is as simple as that. And so if you made a commitment in the class to be more present with your spouse, to do more with your friends, to take more of a stand in your community, or to love yourself more, if you committed to that, do it. And when someone gives you a hard time for doing it and they want you an explanation, you could just simply say, I'm doing it because I said I would, and have that be enough. Fair enough? And so, again, congratulations to you, and I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to be back. Okay, we have another date for the next April, or for the next class in Kansas City. And so we'll be listening for that. We're going to do an exercise here in the next 4 minutes. Fair enough? Right. Another round of applause for both these guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Enjoy yourself.
I appreciate you, man. All right, so. Yeah, well, I didn't know when this was. Now, this was not part of my training, okay? No.
Lost connection.
Okay, so with that,
You can do it on the
oh, yeah, you still be able to see this, not on the big board. Gotcha. Okay, all right. So, here's what I know, is that no one attends the basic seminar because of a great presentation. Even when the presenter is a handsome guy, it's not enough, okay? We go because we trust the person that invited us to attend, all right? And so here's where I want you to be open, okay? So I said earlier, at some point someone will ask you to go. Now you can start getting all anxious and nervous about that if you like. But we did an exercise in the beginning. And that exercise that we did with a we didn't have the budget that Harvard Business School had, but they did the same thing, right? And Harvard Business School conducted a study, and that endowment was for several years. And what they were looking to uncover was what truly makes successful people successful. Another way to look at it is an age-old question. Right? What makes the great great? What is it? What are those distinguishing qualities or characteristics that lead to people experiencing high levels of success or getting what they want? All right? And I define success as you having the ability to create or get whatever it is that you want. Notice I haven't spoken about a certain amount of money or living in a certain neighborhood. It's as it relates to you and your ability to create and get what you want. That is what success is. If you have no idea what you want, if that question to you causes some level of like confusion, right, then we got some work to do, and that's okay, right? But to be moving through your life having no idea what you want is not a very effective way of living. Okay, so what they wanted to know, they being Harvard, was when it comes to successful living, what is it that gets us there? Is it that a person has a specialized skill? Is it that they have certain knowledge that others don't have? Or is it attitude? What they wanted to know is what really leads to highly successful living. Is it skill? Is it knowledge? Or is it attitude? And so, let's go, Stacy, back to that page where I asked you, what is it that leads to successful living? Or when you think about the most successful people, what are the qualities or the traits of those individuals? And we came up with a list. You came up with a list. And so so Stacy, if you'll call them out, then we'll decide, okay, if whether or not that quality is skill, is it knowledge, is it attitude, and it can be multiple. It doesn't matter. All right, Stacey, what do we got? What's the first one? Happiness. So we said that's successful people have that quality. They find a way to be happy. Would you say that that's knowledge, skill, or attitude?
Attitude.
Driven.
Driven. Attitude, skill, or knowledge?
Attitude.
Educated.
Knowledge.
Committed.
Attitude.
Focused.
Attitude.
Outside the box thinkers.
Attitude.
And this also skill.
Could be knowledge.
And knowledge. It doesn't matter. We just,
Honest.
they're honest. Is that attitude, skill, or knowledge?
Attitude.
Willing.
They're willing. Is that attitude, skill, or knowledge?
Consistent.
Consistent. Is that attitude, skill, or knowledge?
Goal-oriented.
Goal-oriented person. Is that attitude, skill, or knowledge?
Attitude.
Skill. Okay, thank you. Just make sure that your voice is just getting out. It's like 7:50. What else are we gonna do?
Have written goals.
They have written goals. Is that attitude, skill, or knowledge? That's skill. Okay. Knowledge. All right. So it's attitude. Okay. All right.
Accept failure.
Attitude for sure, right? How I look at failure is definitely part of attitude, okay?
Open to learning more.
A person who's open to learning more, is that attitude, skill, or knowledge?
Attitude.
Solutions oriented.
You guys are like, let's see where it's going. These are your responses. I'm just,
Balanced.
A person who's balanced, would you say that's attitude, skill, or knowledge?
Skill.
And knowledge, there we go. One for knowledge, here we go.
Integrity.
They have integrity, is that attitude, skill, or knowledge?
Attitude.
Yes.
Confident.
Attitude.
Ethics.
Attitude.
Self-motivated.
It's also a skill.
It's skill.
Preparation.
Skill.
Willing to work.
Willingness to work. Come on.
And persistent.
Is that it?
That was it?
So what we did here is what we drew the same conclusion that Harvard drew, but they spent many more millions and a whole lot more years. What they concluded was that what really leads to successful living, more than anything else, is a person's attitude or their state of mind. But how often have you perhaps been convinced that you've got to have a specialized skill? You know, I can't really start going out until I've got this knowledge. So I hide out in my cubicle before just going out and starting to generate business. Or I've got to have this specialized knowledge before I'm really ready to go. Oftentimes people buy into those ideas that I need a specialized knowledge or I got to have a certain skill, but really it's the attitude. Now my question to you is, in all of your education, be it grade school or through, your matriculation through advanced degrees, do you remember the class on Attitude 101? You know the class where they teach you how to handle resentments? The class where you learn about how to move from a victim consciousness to a responsible one. You remember that class, like what to do when things don't go your way, how to be more solutions oriented when you're stuck. The basic seminar in 3 days does this. And we have a money back guarantee, in fact, that you will learn more related to what you've already determined are the actual keys to successful living. You'll do more of that in 3 days for $595 than you've done for whatever the thousands of dollars you spent on certifications and college and so forth and so on. We'll cover things, I guarantee you, that you didn't even look at during those times, and yet it is these qualities and characteristics that actually lead to a successful life. So that's where we are, all right? And so the commitment was to before 8 o'clock, and we're there easily. Okay. So the next basic seminar. Here's the offer. Okay. The next basic in Kansas City area will be April 24th, 25th, 26th. Class is from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. I know you may look at those hours and say, what? Yeah. And before you know it, it will be Sunday night, and you'll wonder where the time is gone. Okay. It's not like this, where someone's talking to you for 10 hours each day. Okay. First 2 hours, the longest, where it's in this position, and then from there it's 5 minutes into an exercise, 10 minutes into an exercise, very interactive, very experiential, because again, what we're uncovering, I can get back to that one. What we're uncovering are what are the predominant ways of thinking that influence how you make decisions and how you operate in your life, okay? And then from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Saturday, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Sunday, and then I believe that's around the 29th would be your graduation and your guest event. The regular tuition for the basic seminar is $795. That's the regular tuition. And our tuitions come with a money-back guarantee. If we don't deliver on the things that I said that we would, or frankly, if you don't get value from the course yourself, then there's a money-back guarantee, refund minus $50. Okay. Now, as an incentive, okay, your tuition won't be $595 or $795. It will be $595, and that tuition is good tonight, and perhaps through this week, if you Stacy, Kevin, share. Okay, that's how it goes. All right, and so that's what you got. Right, so now you're at a place you're in one of three places. One, you know that you want to do it, and you got the information that you needed tonight. You got the dates and your tuition. Okay, congratulations. You may be in place number two where you know it's not what you want to do, and I'll respect that decision. I would just still encourage you though that for you to have what you want, you've got to have your thinking be in alignment with it, and anyone that tells you otherwise is not being honest with you. And then the third is that you're in a place where you perhaps still have questions. And so, for about the next 10 or 15 minutes, okay, we will answer the questions that you have, because it's important to me that you at least get your questions answered, all right? And so with that, we got enough of these to hand out? Okay. Really quickly, okay? On the back of this sheet, we've attempted to address all of the tools and techniques that are taught in the basic seminar. Okay, on the back. It says tools and techniques taught in the basic seminar. I want you to look at that list, and if there are any of those that you don't feel that you are 100% on, or if there's a part of you that would like to improve on any of these areas, then circle it. Okay, Adrian, without the conversation, just. All right. So so if there's some tools and techniques there, as you look at something, okay, we look at the value of risk taking, decision making, the value of creativity, personal belief systems, overcoming rejection. So you look at those, and you don't have to turn this in, by the way. Okay, this is yours, all right. But that said, if you look at those, you're like, man, okay, my business, my marriage, my partnership, my health, whatever, would be improved if I did these things better. Circle what those are, and then look into your life and truly ask yourself if, whether you circle 1 or you circle 10, if either of those is worth giving a $600 shot. And if so, then that's how you answer whether or not, saying yes to the basic, okay? So with that, that's my time, and thank you for your attention. Again, you kept your word to be here. I appreciate that, and it's before 8 o'clock, so we kept our word there as well, as long as that clock is correct.
It's actually fast.
Oh, okay, because that's what I've been going off on. All right, so with that, again, congratulations to the graduates. Thank you to the guests and to all the vintage graduates. So good to see all of you again, and we'll see you next time. So I really appreciate it.